If you are experiencing foundation issues, get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
Crystal, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you with us this morning. And classified conversation, returning to roots and reason. What's this about coming up?
Classical Conversations is an international program for homeschooling, and we have a community here in Sylacauga. So I just wanted to come on and tell you and your viewers about some events that we have coming up so that people can know that they have a choice. And if they are interested in homeschooling, that we do have some information available. Classical Conversations is an international program that equips parents to train their children at home through a classical Christian education, and then we meet in community each week. So we have a community of like-minded homeschoolers that meet on Thursdays.
How has this grown in recent years?
It's grown tremendously since we've been doing it. You know, when I had Alexandra 15 years ago, I stayed at home and I quit my job, and I've been home ever since. And homeschoolers have just come out of the woodwork. So we get numerous phone calls every week and inquiries into our website that are asking for information. So
what are some of the differences in public education, public school, and homeschooling?
Well, in our experience, homeschooling allows you to help the child with their personal interest, and you get to customize their education. We, of course, introduce biblical principles, and we teach a biblical worldview to our students. And my kids have Bible and devotionals every single morning. And with Classical Conversations, the biblical aspects are interwoven into every subject. So God is truly at the center of everything that we're doing. And it's allowed Alexandra and Asa to explore interest, and there's one of our photos. And so that is some of our community day. That's Jessie, and she is getting ready for our community day. There's a bunch of our moms. So, and we just have a lot of fun. We meet on Thursdays and do science, art projects, Latin. There's our challenge class. And we have K4 through Challenge 1, which is 9th grade right now. So we have every grade, and as Alexandra and Josiah, which are our oldest students, get older and move up to the next grade, we will add that level. So next year we'll have 10th grade.
When you started 15 years ago, did you ever think that you'd be where you are now? And I mean, beautiful magazine. I mean, it's a slick publication and promotions and helping our children. It'll be our next generation, of course.
No, not at all. God had it all planned out, but I had no clue. You know, sometimes He calls us to things that we don't really understand and don't know.
Don't think we can do.
And I didn't think that I could do. And I remember vividly when God spoke to me and said that He wanted me to homeschool Alexandra. And I said, I just don't think you know who I am, Lord. I want to work. I want to do marketing and promotions and events. I have a career. I do not want to stay at home all day long with my children and do this thing. And I battled with Him for a little while. And I said, I don't want to do this. But when God calls you to something, He keeps nudging, He keeps talking to you. And I got the strong desire to stay at home. So as you know, I did. And I've been home ever since. And it's been a tremendous blessing. It's been more than I could ever imagine. And then, of course, Asa came along and rocked everybody's world because he is a hyper active 13-year-old who's loud and proud, just like his mother. So we had to adjust when he came along 20 months later because he is definitely not a quiet child. And he had some sensory issues early on, and so he had to have some special attention, and Classical Conversations and homeschooling has completely changed the way we could do school because it allowed me to do the same things with each student but tailor it and customize it specifically to each child and their needs.
Crystal Storey, our guest this morning here on Daybreak. Got a meeting coming up here in town.
We do, and we are so excited about the new coffee shop in Childersburg. So one of our information meetings is this afternoon at 5 o'clock at Cup of Grace in Childersburg. So if you are interested at all, if you want to just ask me some questions and want to know what this homeschooling thing is about, show up at 5 o'clock. If you can't come today, we have one in Sylacauga at Cup of Grace on Tuesday of this coming week, and I believe it's at 4. And then we have an open house where you can just come to our community and hang out with us all day long on Thursday and actually see what we're doing. So you can come,
What's some of
Jimmy
the
Dale.
questions that you're typically asked about homeschooling?
The biggest question is, how do they socialize? And
That's a good question.
yeah, and Pete and I laugh because he asks, have you met their mom? And then I say, well, have you met my kids? Because they are very socialized. We teach them how to interact with people, and they are with all kinds of people from all walks of life all of the time. So they not only know how to interact with their peers, but they know how to interact with babies, toddlers, and adults. They're very well versed. We involved in our church and in activities. Alexandra's a dancer, and Asa's a soccer player, but he's had a lot of other activities. He did karate for a while. He played piano. He's been in a lot of different things, and Alexandra's taking guitar lessons right now. So they are definitely outside the box, and they both color outside the lines and are very social.
Homeschool mothers. And I know that there are dads who are involved in homeschooling as well. But a lot of it, the mom is really hands-on.
Mom is hands-on most of the time. We do have a handful of dads who have taken on the primary responsibility, but the homeschool mom, it's funny when you meet homeschool moms, they're not what you think they are. We're just normal people who happened to be called to homeschool and have a desire to teach our children at home and be with them, all day long. And so we are just like you, and we just want to teach our kids biblical principles surrounded with an education to customize it to their personality and their interest and their likes. And so we do a lot of field trips. We go on a lot of places. We do a lot of hands-on activities so they can actually see the living history and learn about it while they're walking in it. And so homeschool moms are varied. And you'd be surprised, a lot of the homeschool moms had careers just like I did. And they decided to stay at home, and so they left their career to be at home with their kids.
Knowing you as well as I do from years gone by in the professional world, that had to be a big jolt for you starting up as a home care mom.
It was hard. I'll be honest. In the very beginning, it was very hard. And there will be days where you're on your knees crying out to the Lord or calling a friend saying, come help me. I don't know what I just got myself into, but there are more days that are blessings and that have been positive and that are now, of course, we're reaping the benefits of all of the young things that I taught them as young people, because now they're 13 and 15. So I have an 8th grader and a 9th grader, and I've taught them from the very beginning, and they are reading college level books and doing college level work. They're very independent, self-motivated, self-learners most of the time. And they get their work done so that they can go do things that they love. And so we sometimes don't do school every single day because, like Alexandra right now is volunteering at the Childersburg Pet Clinic on Fridays. So she gets most of her school done during the other 4 days of the week, and sometimes on the weekend. Homeschool also sometimes is called go school at our house because we go a lot. So they would do their schoolwork in the car. Yeah. They might do it at night. Alexandra and I both are night owls. So she sometimes will say, I want to do this tomorrow. Can I stay up and do my research paper tonight? Sure.
So there's flexibility there.
Because you can. There's total flexibility.
Where and what is the umbrella that protects homeschooling, and where is the accountability there?
There are several umbrellas. Classical Conversations obviously has a huge accountability and resource with our communities. We also have the HSLDA, which is the Homeschool Legal Defense Association that we're members of, and they allow us a lot of flexibility to get resources from them, and they provide a legal department should we need it ever. And then Alabama used to have a cover school, but the law has changed in the last few years, and so parents do not need a cover school any longer. So we just have to report to the school system, the superintendent, that we are homeschooling. That is the first step. So in my case, since mine have never been to school, I sent a letter in the very beginning when Alexandra was 4 saying we will not be attending school. And I've never had to do anything else. Now, should someone want to pull their child out, now if they're in school, they write a letter to the superintendent and sign their name and date and say that they are choosing to homeschool. And then you're accountable to do school a certain amount of days, and you have to keep track of that, on a calendar. And then you're accountable to your peers in the homeschooling community. We're all accountable to each other.
Yeah, and those of you who may be watching this morning that have children in public schools, this is not a knee-jerk reaction. This is something that you think through, and there's a lot of things on the table that need to be considered here.
Absolutely, and I was public school educated. I love Childersburg High School. Pete and I have done leadership things with the teenagers there through the chamber ambassadors and diplomats in the past. And I graduated, from CAC in addition to Auburn University. And so I love the public school system. One of my dear teachers passed away yesterday, Miss Hassel. She instilled in me a love of writing and literature and just a love of life and people, because she was such a light. So I love the public school system, but there are some instances where a child has special needs, or where you're just called to this by a higher power. And if God calls you to it, He's going to walk you through it. And if you have a special needs situation, or if you have a situation where your child were to get expelled, or you just have some situations. We all have situations and issues. And so there's a wide variety of reasons that people would choose to homeschool. And I'm just a resource. When I decided to do this, I called a lot of mamas, and I had a lot of conversations, and I had a spreadsheet a mile long of all of the do's and don'ts, which we call an Annie chart now in classical conversations, to put the interesting, the positive, and the negatives all on a sheet. And I had lots of resources and people that I could contact. So I just like to share my knowledge of what I've learned over the past 15 years with others, give you resources, and then you follow through with it the best way.
The difference between quote unquote Christian schools and homeschooling, what are the differences there?
I would say the biggest difference is Christian schools, that we have several wonderful ones. They do have a Bible class, and they have devotions, and they put God in their classroom. But with homeschool, you can go off on some sort of adventure, so to speak, if you're in the middle of science class, or if you're in the middle of a math lesson and something comes up, because the Bible is full of math laws and teaches us so much. And I remember one moment in our homeschool journey, we have a timeline in our schoolroom that talks about the history of the world.
So you have a schoolroom?
Yes, we do.
Wow.
And you don't have, that's not a qualification. You do not have to have a schoolroom. We didn't have one for a long time. But we do have a wonderful schoolroom now. And we have a timeline on the wall that talks about creation to the present. And it's got the biblical and secular history on it. And I recall one moment when we were talking about the world, and we were doing some subject, which I don't remember, but something came up, and it clicked with Alexandra and Asa that, this historical moment was happening at the same time as this historical moment. One was secular, one was biblical, and it's in our Bible. But we were able to stop what we were doing in the middle of the subject. They went over to the timeline, and we started following the timeline of that particular event and what all happened, and we just completely went a different direction. And so that's the difference in homeschooling. Also, you can just live life a little better, in my opinion. Both of my grandmothers passed away last year, unfortunately, and we were able to just pick up our life and go sit with my grandmothers and do life and school at their bedside. Yeah. And that doesn't happen in real life if you've got to be other places. And that was more of a valuable lesson than anything I think I could ever teach my kids, because they got to hear things that my grandmothers would say to them, especially my one grandmother on Walnut, and they learned so many things from her just by sitting with her.
Wow. National School Choice Week.
That's this week,
All right.
yes.
And,
so there is a choice.
And so certainly a kind of meet and greet event today over at Cup of Grace in Childersburg, and one here in Sylacauga on Tuesday at Cup of Grace, and then you got the open house on Thursday. Now, where's the open house going to be?
It's at our church that we meet at, Five Points Baptist Church.
Okay. And Crystal Storey is with us this morning. She is a homeschooler and has been for a number of years now. Society today, I mean, you see so many events and happenings of kids and young people that have been involved in this, that, or the other. There's a lot of good kids in this country.
There are.
And homeschooling is something that you see that's going to not benefit them just now, but in the future as well.
Yeah, we're teaching our kids to be world changers and prayer warriors. And so they are building a generation in our homeschool communities for the kingdom, and hopefully going to rise up people to speak out against things that are happening in the world that are not biblical and are not of God. And my kids have the knowledge that we've been learning at home to be able to defend their faith, defend what that they believe in, and they can debate any topic.
All right, Crystal Storey is our guest this morning here on Daybreak. Talk about the meetings you got coming up, and National School Choice Week is 30,000 in 2018, and the numbers continue to grow.
Yeah, we those are the events, I believe. We have 125,000 homeschoolers in our organization right now.
Wow.
And we're in 22 countries. So pretty much anywhere you go, you're going to be able to find a community. And what's beautiful about Classical Conversations is that if you started in Sylacauga with us homeschooling and for some reason you had to move somewhere, you could just find a CC community near wherever you're going to move to and pick right back up exactly where you left Sylacauga's for.
So how can they find out more about this?
Yeah, they can call me, 256-510-2118, or you can go on our website, classicalconversations.com, put in your zip code, and I will get an email, and then you can show up at our events this afternoon, Cup of Grace, 5 o'clock, Childersburg, or come to the Cup of Grace in Sylacauga on Tuesday next week, and our open house on the 31st.
All right, cultivating the love of learning through homeschooling. Crystal Storey of Classical Conversations, support representative, Central Alabama. Finally this morning as we go, I'm sure there's mothers and grandmothers that are watching this morning that may be wringing their hands. They're just at wits' end, and they don't know what to do, and they're trying to balance things. They're trying to work, and they got their children and grandchildren. Encourage them this morning as far as how homeschooling could be an asset to them, and just in general, encourage moms and grandmothers this morning.
Yeah, I think that if you're a mom or a grandmother or any parent or grandparent watching this morning, and you think that this might be for you, and you have a situation or you feel God's calling you, I think first you need to pray about it. And I think that you need to ask God to help you, and then you need to come talk to me and just get some resources, get some encouragement. Let us show you and give you some hands-on things that you can consider. Classical Conversations is not the only model, but it is a wonderful model. And we have a lot of homeschooling friends in this area. So whatever your questions are, I probably have a friend who's doing something that you want to do. Yeah. So I can connect you. I can give you resources. I can give you a networking pool. We have a co-op group here in Sylacauga as well. So there are so many people that I can put you in contact with. You're not alone. There is a community, and there are people just like you.
Yeah, and I mentioned specifically moms or grandmothers, a lot of single parent households today, and a lot of guys and grandfathers even too that are involved with their education. So you're included as well.
Oh, absolutely. As you know, I was a single mom at one time, so I never wavered. I knew that I was supposed to homeschool, and I just had to figure it out. So it can be done, and it is. There are tutoring opportunities available to earn an income so that it will pay for the children's tuition with classical conversations. So just don't discount any reason why you think you can't, because you can.
All right. Meet and greet this afternoon, Cup of Grace in Childersburg. Tuesday here in Silicon, Cup of Grace too. Crystal Storey, always good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you.
More Daybreak coming up right after this.